Bonjour, je suis not manly, ici le voyage d'espace je ne sais quoi. This is part 28 where we're doing Eeloo part 2 and we got a nice long treat for you today. Just to recap what Eeloo is, about 1200 kilometers across, 21 microkerbins, 2 satellites, Celeste and Tam, and an atmosphere about 80 kilometers tall but really thin. One day is 8 hours, and actually the configuration file has it going for 4 hours, but I edited that to match the documentation that came with Je ne sais quoi, so we slowed things down just a bit. Getting out here takes about 4 kilometers per second from low Kerbal orbit. Capturing can take as much as 3 depending on how you approach it, but ascending and landing isn't too bad, and even if you can't use parachutes, you can still land on drag. This is the pinnacle accomplishment for stock players. Again, it is a superb challenge of your mission planning skills. That atmosphere makes it easier to land than stock Eeloo does. The problem, though, is parachutes don't work here. There's only 5 biomes. Getting out here takes 10 years by conventional means. And in addition to that eccentric orbit and wild inclination, there are some dangerous fissures at the poles that I will show you. When we last left our heroes, Valentina, Bob, and Doug Kerman, they were above Tam, and then we're heading ready to get back into low Eeloo orbit. There you go. Bye-bye, Tam. So we're heading inward there. What we're going to do is we're going to get to a synchronous orbit, not a stationary orbit though, because we're still looking for that anomaly on the surface. What we're going to do is get a little closer, then we're going to zoom right in. We're going to wait until the anomaly shows up roughly on our flight path, and then we're going to try to enter into a synchronous orbit once it is right below us. There we go. So we're just up in a pretty high lazy orbit, letting the world rotate underneath us. There's the anomaly there. So we'll wait until it hits that crosshair on the left. Come on. Oh, there we go. There we go. So what we're going to do is we'll warp in from there, then we'll do an 8-hour orbit, roughly above this spot. What I'm hoping for is that our inclination will have us drift over the anomaly when we get out there. There we go, so we want 1,632 kilometers up. Come on. Alright, let's zoom in slowly. So yeah, the rotation period is not 4 hours. It is supposed to be 8, but the game's configuration has it set for 8 hours. And all you gotta do is double the rotation period value in the configuration file to fix that up. Ohio Bob tells me that will be fixed in the next release of Je ne sais quoi. Okay, so we're almost there, 1644. There we go, 1632. So from here we'll get a nice circular orbit, and then we'll let the anomaly come to us. Okay, there we are. I don't want to drift too far, but it doesn't matter. We don't have to be exact as long as we are reasonably close and our orbit period is at 8 hours. And there we go. 8 hours and 2 seconds. We'll take that. Of course, old Boom Boom here doesn't make it all that precise either. Fortunately, we do have those Twitch engines for precision adjustments to our orbit. Alright, so we just need to accelerate just a bit. And there we go, 8 hours and fractions of a second. And now we're just going to wait for the anomaly to come to us. As we go up inclination in our orbit, the anomaly floats into view. There we go. And I can zoom right in at 5% there. There we go. So I'll stop as soon as the question mark there stops moving. And there we go. A little more. And there we go, we'll take that. And now that we marked it, let's see if we can zoom in a little bit with our warp drive. We're going radial in until The anomaly just hits the edge of our view, and we'll get as precise a position as we can without overdoing it just like that. Oops. Anyway, we'll just turn around and we'll head back out until it comes back. Oops. Oh well. There we go. Good enough. We'll take that right there. And with hopefully a precise marking of where the anomaly is, we'll zoom right in up to the warp drive safety altitude, and then we'll close our orbit about 100 kilometers up. And now we are ready to send Valentina and Bob to the surface. Okay, so let's separate out the craft. This time we're bringing the heat shield with us. Interestingly, I tried landing this thing without the heat shield, and I'm not sure if I actually saved any Delta V using it or not using it. Oh well, we brought the thing with us. We don't need to bring all this stuff back with us to Kerbin, so hey, let's just bring it all back. While we're passing over the upper atmosphere, we can get some per biome science with that atmospheric variometer there. There we go. We got Bob in control here. With any luck, he won't crash this thing. This is a pretty lazy descent, kinda like what Huygen was almost, and kinda like what Raija was almost. Still, the big ol' heat shield does act as a drogue chute for us. We were slowing down as soon as we touched the upper atmosphere. Without the heat shield, we would have been accelerating for a bit before the atmosphere did anything to us. I'm going to look at that Delta V number we got there. As soon as we drop the heat shield, let's see what we've got. And see if we actually do 350 meters per second, or if we do less. So we're at 2060. Come on. When are we dropping it? Right there. So we're at 2840. Let's see what we end up with when we touch down. We're gonna land on some pretty interesting terrain there. Good thing we missed that mesa there, but that slope down there still looks pretty crazy. $23, $22. Doesn't look like we saved a whole lot. Oh well. Maybe it wouldn't have made a difference to bring the heat shield. In any case, let's just get down to the surface here. Bob is being extra careful here. There you go. Just like the other tricks, we're using that docking port on the bottom, and we are traveling prograde while thrusting retrograde. Oh yeah, that's a bit of a hillside there. Look out there, Bob, be careful. Okay, touchdown, and... oh, look up. Hey, look at that, we stayed up. We're a little falling down the hill, though, even with those brakes. So... let's get this fixed up there. Come on, Bob. There we go! Now that we're stopped, let's consider that our landing. We'll turn this thing around, get it down the hill, hopefully safely. Not bad at all. Welcome to Eeloo, the loneliest planet in the system, loneliest dwarf planet in the system. And we'll see about making it a little less lonely. Up ahead we do find a very small object, there it is. There we go, we should be able to pick this up. It's an Eeloo ice chunk. 480 science. Okay, we'll take that. Even better, we'll take the ice itself. We'll send out Bob out there with a pickaxe and we'll bring it home. There we go. Get in there. Okay, Eeloo ice chunk. Don't know if it'll last on the return trip, but hey, we can always try. Look at that, 480 science, and we can bring it home. That's not the only thing we found out here as well. All of those gray rocks out there are typical ground scatter for Je ne sais quoi, except for this thing, which is a little more brown colored. Let's see if it's anything different. Oh, we're not close enough yet. Let's see. Oh, Eeloo brown boulder. Well, there we go. Yeah, the actual crust as opposed to all the ice that's up here. 720 science, but I think we can do better than that still. On our way to the anomaly, we stop over here at the Highlands, get some more science. Look at that temperature, it's about 68 Kelvin. It's been dropping steadily since we landed. That's about minus 204 C. Brr. A little better than Celeste, though, at least. The atmosphere does warm things up ever so slightly. Continuing toward the anomaly, we do stumble on this thing, and my goodness, that looks a little bit different from all the ground scatter, at least. Let's see if it's worth anything. Nope, we're not quite there yet. Oh, Eeloo bird. Oh, not quite there yet. Let's try again. Nope, not going to work this time. Let's try a different spot. Come on. Yeah, that should do it. No? There we go. $960 science. Not bad at all, given the distance getting out here and the cost. And hey, this looks like a good selfie spot, kind of like those cryovolcanoes back on Vol, so who better than Bob and Valentina to go and jump on this thing. Bob's been on one of the hottest objects in the system on Moho, and now he's on one of the coldest objects here on Eeloo. A little bit slippery there. Oh, there we go. Go on up there, Val. Go join him. There we go. There's the sun, and there's some of the inner worlds barely visible through the atmosphere. We do finally get to the anomaly. We don't quite have a science boost yet. We're supposed to get one out here, but it's interesting that we don't get one right away. But what I ended up doing was I exited and I went to the Space Center and back, and well, we don't have it yet, but let's get a nice spotlight on this thing. Come on, come to a stop. There you go. After a change of scenery, we do get exotic plasma propulsion. There aren't any parts under that node, but hey, that's one less node we have to unlock with our raw science. Even better yet, we're going to send out Bob and Val to plant a flag on this thing for future study. Maybe we don't need the spotlight. There we go. Get on up there, Val, and make history. There we go. The Eeloo Randolith. The last science-boosting random monolith in the system. Where do we go? Oh, there we go. Eeloo's not lonely anymore, eh? That's better. Not bad, guys, not bad at all. As we head up north, because we want to take a look at what's at the pole there, here's a good shot of the inner system from Eeloo's surface here. This is very close to the poles, and it got as cold as 44 Kelvin, or minus 229 C. That's about as cold as it gets without actually being in space. And at the very, very top of the North Pole, well, you can see what's coming! And Val is taking a nice look at this. We'll go to cockpit view for this one here. Yup, that's a North Pole. That's a tall one too. My goodness. You know, this one almost looks like it belongs here, because when you take a look around the other side here, we've got this lovely ridge that lines it here. That almost blends in. Now, the peak is still not very safe. On our way back down to the equator, we get a good view of Celeste there, and then we wait until Doug's orbit is directly above us. We're waiting for that time to relative ascending node to get as close to 0 as we can here. Then we'll kind of head just straight 90 degrees, and we'll head back up to orbit. And there we go. On the way up, I try to get some lower atmosphere science if we can, but looks like we caught everything on the way down. There wasn't anything more I could catch. But while I'm here, I'm trying to fix our relative inclination. They say the atmosphere doesn't actually have much of an impact, but for some reason, it's giving us trouble here. It wants to stick to prograde. The only problem is we might crash if we do that. So that atmosphere might be thin, but like Duna's atmosphere, it's still there. So be careful when you're flying these things. There we go. Mach 4. There we go. Deceptively large for a dwarf planet, let me tell you. There we go. There's the sun. At least up in space we can make use of the gravioli detector and get some per biome science from low space. Of adjustment there, and we get to rendezvous back with the main mission craft. Nothing unusual, this was pretty routine now. And hey, this craft design has worked out very well as a multi-purpose lander rover. Again, you should find it on Kerbal X if you're looking for it. Hello, Bob. Doug was saying to his brother, and Valentina gets some payback from Moho for the first time this whole playthrough. And bonk! Hey Doug, how'd you like a love tap back? All that's left to do now is clean up and deorbiting junk and so forth, and then we can get on our way back to Kerbin. First we got Valentina loading up the science. And Bob comes back. These guys have earned a good rest for this one. So we deorbit the rover. We're not going to worry about bringing it back. We're also going to deorbit this 4-piece adapter here. We're not going to need it. We'll just build another one when the time comes. I'd rather not carry that weight all the way back to Kerbin. Okay, undock. Give it a push too, there we go. Even if we lost command with Kerbin or we lost contact with Kerbin, we should still be able to control this thing with those relay antennas and with Val in the pilot seat of that command pod. There we go. A quick redock and restrut later, and we are ready to get on our way. strut. So yeah, I'm not sure how we're gonna do Nara coming up. I'd like to use a design very similar to this. The problem is I might have to take 2 trips back and forth, maybe even a 3rd trip back and forth, dropping off relay satellites along the path between here and Nara. Nara is at its apoapsis right about now, so getting out there is going to be pretty distant. But anyway, rather than head straight to Kerbin in this case, I decide that we're going to target Hammock. We're going to go sideways a little bit. I'll explain why in just a bit. First, we're going to enjoy an Eeloo sunrise. Starrise, maybe? I don't know. So what we're going to do is go sideways for a little bit. Using the warp drive costs us less than using old Boom Boom here for Delta V, so we're going to line up between Kerbin and the Sun so it makes a straight line. And hey, Hammock is exactly where we want to be for this little side trip. And there we go. We're lined up with Kerbin, and then we'll retarget Kerbin, and hey, the ascending node is right there. So we can fix our inclination and do all kinds of stuff. This maneuver only took about 2 kilometers per second. The last time I tried this, closing orbit around Kerbin took over 7.5 kilometers per second. You definitely want to make your adjustments out here rather than much closer to Kerbin, but now that we're all lined up and we got a reasonable circular orbit above the Sun, we can just warp on straight home. There we go. Full speed ahead. Or pardon me, engage! Alrighty. There goes Lindor. There goes Jewel in a bit. There goes Duna, all that. As we approach Kerbin, not only does the warp drive itself slow down a bit, being closer to the Sun, but I slow down deliberately as well because I don't want to just warp right through Kerbin like we did through Tam earlier. And as we get closer and closer, hey, we couldn't have done a better job lining up that approach than that. Yeah, sure, we're completely backwards, we're retrograde, and we're going the wrong direction, but that's easy to fix. A mere 500 meters per second to fix that. There we go. So yeah, 32 days to go out to Hammock, Eeloo, and back. Much better than a 10-year trip one way. Beautiful. The safety kicks in, and then we just lower our orbit to low Kerbin orbit, 100 kilometers up. Hey, nothing much to say here, this is just like any other return trip at this point. So anyway, it's been a crazy summer. Getting out to Nara might take even longer than my last big break. I am hoping not though, but I'm going to try my best to keep on top of this. I have to design a rover, a lander, several relays, and then another multi-lander rover for all the moons of Nara on top of that. So that's going to be a bit of a challenge. I don't even know if I can bring these guys back safely. I do have a cunning plan for getting off the surface of Nara that has been tested. I just haven't put it into a production craft yet. But hey, let's not worry about that. Let's bring these guys home safe. If you guys got any crazy ideas for Nara, hey, let's hear from you. Remember, Nara right now is at its apoapsis. We're going to have to add some extra relays. We'll have some really deep space relays for that, just so we can keep in contact. KerbNet's not going to work without that. Plus, we got to get through that crazy thick atmosphere. Hopefully Scatterer gets fixed by then too. Oh well. And a mere 32 days later, we splash down back at Kerbin. And we bring back Well over 60,000 science. Not bad for only 4 worlds. Well, we'll be planning for Nara coming up in a future episode. Until then, I'm not manly. Fly safe.